Good morning class 11. Let's recapitulate the things what I discussed in my previous video. That is, we are discussing that polar satellite and geostationary satellite. So the satellite which placed in the equatorial plane, it is called geostationary satellite, and the satellite which placed in the polar plane of the earth, that is from north to south, that is called that polar satellite. Now let's going through the discussion for polar satellite. What is that polar satellite? Let's see the diagram again. This is for polar satellite. This one is one of the polar satellite. So polar satellite is also one kind of artificial satellite. It is placed in the orbit whose angle of inclination with equatorial line is 90 degree. Here it is 0 degree inclination. Here let's see, this is what, 90 degree from this blue line to this white line. This is how much? It is 90 degree. So its angle of inclination with the earth equatorial plane should be 90 degree. Okay, no confusion. Its orbit is called polar orbit. This polar satellite orbit is called polar orbit. And let's recall the thing that orbit of geostationary satellite is called what? Parking orbit. Clear? So this is the polar orbit. Okay, so this here the satellite which is placed, it is called that polar satellite. Now polar orbit is one in which a satellite passes above or nearly above the both poles of the orbit. So let's see the diagram again. This is suppose north pole, this is south pole. So it is just passes over the north pole and south pole. So that's why it is called polar satellite. So and this orbit is called polar orbit. So both poles of the body being orbited, usually a planet such as Earth, but possibly another body such as Moon or Sun. On Earth, each ocean, it has an inclination about 60 to 90 degrees. 69 degree means a little bit less inclination than that pole to the body of equator. A satellite in a polar orbit will pass over the equator at different longitude on each of its orbit. Now see, this is geostationary satellite coverage area. This is polar satellite coverage area. So if we are accessing coordinate of coming from both the satellite and the location coordinate from both the satellite, which is actually done by our Uber, Zomato, or that Google location. So if they are taking coordinate each and every time from this geostationary satellite as well as artificial polar satellite, so actually they are getting what? Each and every time your latitude, longitude, position, because you have a GPS system. Okay, so from that GPS system and through that satellite communication, each and every time your geostationary satellite also catching data from you and your polar satellite also catching data from you. So each and every time that coordinate data they are taking and they are getting that latitude, longitude data, and from that latitude, longitude data they can access your location. Means this much easy it is. Means if you are switching off your network, that time you can't skip that location sensing. Why? Because whenever you switch on your location, switch on means suppose switch off. Suppose here you have switch off your location and after that here you had switch on. So they will get this data from you from a hidden system which is present inside your GPS system. So you switch off your mobile, but still it is calculating that data from that satellite. So that's the thing, we can't hide from the network zone nowadays. So geostationary satellite, I need to give that. So this if I am going for that polar satellite, basically polar satellites are called weather satellite and geostationary satellites are called that broadcast satellite. So let's give a brief on the both satellite. A geostationary satellite is an Earth orbiting satellite placed at an altitude of approximately 3580 km directly over the equator that revolves in the same direction of the Earth rotate, that is west to east. What are the uses? Direct broadcast TV, communication network, defense and intelligence, global positioning, or GPS, which is used for satellite navigation system. What is the advantage? Advantage of this kind of satellites are the satellites remains in the same position throughout the day, and antenna can be directed towards the satellite or remains on track. I want to tell your Tata Sky Dish TV's antenna actually pointing towards your geostationary satellite, that broadcast satellite. Clear? That is the geostationary satellite. Now if I am going for that polar satellite, polar satellites are closely parallel to the Earth's meridian line, means that polar lines, thus having a highly inclined orbit close to 90 degree. It passes over north to south pole in each revolution. As Earth rotates east beneath the satellite, each pass monitors an area of to the west of the previous pass interval roughly within 90 to 100 minutes. Means geostationary satellite nearly revolves it that is 24 hours. It is need nearly 90 to 100 minutes. These strips can be pieced together to produce picture of large area, means our so-called Google Earth technology, means that is taking data from geostationary polar satellite beams, because each and every time within 90 to 100 minutes it completes this one revolution. So it's very helpful for us. Uses monitoring weather, observing Earth's surface, that is Google Earth. Military uses including spying will be done by what? Will be done by our polar satellite. Remember, what is the advantage? Polar satellite have the advantage of photographic clouds directly beneath them, means Google Earth, again telling. So polar satellite have the advantage of photographic clouds directly beneath them. They also circle as much lower altitude, about 850 kilometer. I want to repeat that previous slide of geostationary satellite. See, in geostationary satellite probably it is placed it is 22,030 miles or 35,800 kilometer, whereas polar satellite is what? Polar satellite is just on 850 kilometer, means it is very near to the Earth's surface and providing more detailed information about violent storms and cloud system. See, we need both the data, that is for geostationary satellite and polar satellite, but for communication geostationary satellite is more helpful, because it just surrounds the whole Earth in equatorial plane, and each and every time it's reflect the wave and we are getting that satellite fastest satellite communication system, whereas polar satellite helps us what? Observing Earth's surface in detailed manner, because it takes less time to revolution. Clear class? So I think these topics are very pretty much interesting for you, and in our online class we will definitely go through it once again, and escape velocity part 2 already done, and I think these chapters are very interesting for you. Thank you class.